Now on CoastTV News.
Parking problems after claims of lost revenue. What Bethany Beach officials are looking to change to make up for the lost money.
Plus, Stevenson school scrutiny. With the possibility of losing its charter, we have received a response from the free charter school in their effort to remain open.
It's another morning. We're tracking some patchy fog across the peninsula. Rain develops this afternoon through Friday morning on the latest rainfall totals, and all eyes on a potential coastal storm threat over the weekend.
And airport area assessment. Why the level of concern has risen for that area in Milford.
This is CoastTV News Today.
It is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Good morning. I'm Matt Pensick.
Good morning, Matt. I'm Grace Eckerly. Thank you for being up with us during this 5 o'clock hour.
And depending where you are, fog could be a factor for your commute this morning. We are tracking all the cameras that we have access to.
That's right, Matt. Driving in this morning, we all mentioned the fog was pretty intense. It almost at some points looked like you were driving into a flat wall, like in the cartoons. I was shocked. I was taken aback. But you definitely want to take it slow today. They advise not using your high beams. It's easier to see with just your regular headlights, and give yourself a few extra minutes as you head out on your morning commute.
Lots of good tips there. And to tell us more about this foggy situation this Thursday morning, let's go right now to the First Alert Weather Center and our meteorologist, Chris Mastrobono. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Matt and Grace, plus a good morning, Delmarva. Yes, we have ourselves a rather raw, misty morning out there. We're beginning to see some onshore flow kick in as well across the area. We're at 38 in Ocean City. Winds are out of the northeast at about 11 miles an hour, and you can see visibility down to 1.25 miles in Georgetown. We're down to 1/4 mile in Dover, so that's really kind of the sector where we're seeing the worst and most dense fog through Sussex and Kent counties, and then we're beginning to see that onshore push of wind creating that marine layer along the coast. Temperatures are anywhere from 36 in Lewis down to 40 in Salisbury, so a little milder to the south and western portion of the peninsula. There is that northeast flow anywhere between about 10 to 20 miles an hour, so we're beginning to see a lot of moisture. It's not actually raining this morning, but we're beginning to see that mist push in offshore. We are seeing rain, some light shower activity just to our south. This moisture is going to be building into the region this afternoon. So we have the foggy, misty start. We stay dry through at least about noon, and then I think after about 1, 2 o'clock, we begin to see on and off showers develop, and that rain could be heavy at times through the evening, and we're going to be dealing with that rain overnight and into tomorrow morning's commute. We'll talk about how much rain we could expect to see, and then all eyes on that coastal storm threat over the weekend. I'll have the latest on that here in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And for a better look at the fog conditions, you are now looking live at Milford. This is south of the city, just off of Route 1. Now, normally, with this camera, we have a traffic circle that we can see in the center of the screen. You're not seeing that right now because all you are seeing is fog.
That really is an impressive view, Matt. Now let's go to South Milford. Here's what we're seeing above Ocean City. Almost nothing. This is the 94th Street area of Coastal Highway. Very dense fog covering the entire roadways this morning. And again, you do want to be very careful as you are heading out on your morning commute.
Yeah, Grace, I just want to note on that there with Ocean City about an hour ago, that was a lot clearer. So that thick fog in Ocean City rolled in within the last 60 minutes. All right, moving on, in our top story this hour is Bethany Beach. They're looking at increasing rates for annual parking permit fees during the summer season, this is. People with residential permits and beach lots, they have permission to park in metered spaces near the beach. And at a meeting on January 15th, the Budget and Finance Committee mentioned an 8.2% decrease in the number of parking hours purchased. So it was recommended that the town stop giving property owners a free beach permit, raise the price of the beach permit. Those recommendations are expected to get reviewed later this morning by the town's Budget and Finance Committee. Parking revenue is also a continuing focus in Lewis as that city is debating fee hikes as part of its fiscal year 2027 budget. Now, we previously reported that there is a proposal of upping the hourly rate for in-town meters to $2.50 and beach parking to $3. The city says that if the fee changes go into effect this summer, it will generate an additional $250,000. People living in Lewis, they're expecting some type of increase.
It seemed like the crowds in the summertime have gotten a lot larger. And, things get more expensive, and if they're planning on raising the parking fees, that does not surprise me.
And we can see more parking rate proposals at a special budget meeting tomorrow.
And parking fees vary in each coastal community across Sussex County. Rehoboth Beach charges $4 per hour at its meters in the city, and recently officials considered extending its paid parking season to run from May 1st to October 31st, but ultimately decided against the change. In Bethany Beach, the rate is also $4 to park in town using the meters, and to park in Lewis, you must pay $1.50 per hour downtown, but at the beach, $2.50. Fenwick Island charging $4 per hour during its paid parking season.
This just in, we have a response to the recommendation that the Brian Allen Stevenson School in Georgetown close. The school is named after civil rights lawyer Brian Stevenson, who grew up in Milton. But
now the Delaware Department of Education says that the school isn't meeting state standards. The agency started a formal review just about 2 months ago and is recommending the school close.
Yeah, the school released this statement we're showing you right here on your screen. They say, we're prepared to demonstrate that the school has both the leadership and community support necessary to remain open and thrive.
And the school currently has 119 6th graders, 6th through 9th graders, and is open just for 2 years. School leaders say that charter schools usually take about 3 to 5 years to get off the ground, and they're confident that they can make the turnaround. The Department of Education Committee report indicated that some vendors at school weren't paid. The school leaders say that's just wrong. They say that they have their money under control and that enrollment is low because the school is so new. The school is confident that they can stay open.
With our new head of school and the new structures and systems that we're putting in place, I think our community, our parents and our staff community is really appreciative of that. And they are showing us by staying committed and staying here with us at base.
And a public hearing on the possible charter revocation is March 9th. That's at Georgetown's Del Tech. And 10 days later, when the Secretary of Education will decide to close the school or not, one board member tells CoastTV that Brian Stevenson is aware of what's going on now and is confident that the school will stay open and be successful for years to come.
So let's level set here and provide some background about Brian Stevenson. He is a nationally known civil rights attorney who was born in Milton. He's best known for founding the Equal Justice Initiative in Alabama, where he spent decades fighting wrongful convictions and excessive sentencing.
And his work is chronicled in the best-selling book, Just Mercy, which was later adapted into a major movie starring Michael B. Jordan.
And one of Stevenson's famous quotes is that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done, and that you have to be proximate and up close to something to understand it. The Brian Allen Stevenson School of Excellence says it's those philosophies and more that are the basis of their mission.
And for more information on this developing situation, head to the article on our website, coasttv.com. In Cambridge police, they're continuing to investigate a shooting after they say a 17-year-old boy was shot on Wednesday evening. It happened a little after 6:15 p.m. at the area on your screen now. That's High Street between Washington Street and Lincoln Terrace. According to police, their shot spotter system alerted them of multiple shots being fired, and several shell casings were found on the ground, and police say there was damage to a home from the shooting.
Republican Nikki Miller says she will not run for Delaware's 20th District House seat in 2026. The former Cape Henlopen High School principal made the announcement Wednesday evening, saying after a lot of reflection, she's focusing on education and her work with students and the teachers in the community. Miller narrowly lost the 2024 general election to Stell Parker-Selby and then lost last year's special election to Democrat Alana Berry. Miller says this isn't goodbye, just to public service, it's just a pause.
Happening today, a public workshop for the airport road corridor study in Milford. The study is focusing on improving safety between Canterbury Road and Route 113. Officials are now looking for community feedback to help shape possible improvements. The workshop takes place from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at the Food Bank of Delaware Cafe in Milford. It is important to note that this is the same area that's been closed for months as construction of a new traffic circle continues.
Sussex County Habitat for Humanity, they're getting a $1 million boost. Leaders with the Sussex County Habitat for Humanity say the money could help build 10 to 15 new affordable homes.
New this morning, part of Beaver Dam Drive in Salisbury will close today as the city begins a major water system upgrade. Beaver Dam Drive at North Park Drive will shut down between East Main Street and Hillside Drive from noon to 4 p.m. City leaders say that the closure is part of a larger project to replace Salisbury's raw water main, which carries water from the well field to the treatment plant. The project is expected to be completed in the fall. And if you'd like more information on that road closure and who's affected, you can head to the article on our website, coasttv.com.
And we're now taking a live look at Washington, D.C. The partial government shutdown over the Department of Homeland Security oversight seems poised to drag on. This as lawmakers and the White House are offering no signs of compromise.
NBC's Alice Barr shows us how some federal employees are working without pay during the shutdown as the president heads to Georgia today to talk affordability.
President Trump eyeing two fronts today, greeting world leaders at the inaugural meeting of his Board of Peace before heading to Georgia to talk up his economic policies. The battleground visit part of a push to get on the road and boost Republicans ahead of the midterm elections.
Georgia is obviously a very important state to the president and to the Republican Party.
The president set to focus on making life more affordable as some federal employees are now working without pay, while the Department of Homeland Security is in a shutdown over Democrats' demands to reform ICE and Border Patrol tactics.
The ball is back in the court of the White House because they have our most recent response.
The White House calling that proposal unserious, confirming President Trump has not had recent direct discussions with Democrats, despite his saying Monday that he'd sit down with them this week.
I will, but we have to protect our law enforcement. They've done a great job.
A growing number of Democratic lawmakers now planning to boycott the president's State of the Union Tuesday and instead join a counter-programming rally. The domestic divide coming as President Trump faces concern among longtime allies that his Board of Peace could undermine the United Nations. The Vatican saying Pope Leo will not join the board, following suit with allies like the UK and France.
The United Nations has great potential. They haven't lived up to the potential, but I think they might aid us a little bit.
The board expanding from its initial purpose to reconstruct Gaza, with the White House saying member states have pledged more than $5 billion toward aid and rebuilding. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Tonight, the Delaware Department of Health and Social Services is scheduling an EBT outage from roughly 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. on Friday morning. The DHSS says that some systems will be down for maintenance and online EBT transactions processing, and call centers will all be unavailable.
In Seaford, a 57-year-old man is facing burglary-related charges. Delaware State Police say they arrested James DeShields, and according to troopers last fall, they went to multiple burglary calls at homes under construction, and DeShields was arrested in September for an unrelated matter. But after the investigation and connected DNA samples, they arrested DeShields for those burglaries.
We're just getting started here on this hour of Coast TV News today.
Yeah, coming up, oyster industry difficulties, how officials in Virginia are working to help watermen.
Also, new homes in Harrington, why the fire department is concerned over plans for a new development.
And a school day turns into a concert, how professional musicians inspired students and struck a lasting chord. That's next on this week's Coastal Connections, and Coast TV News Today continues after the break.
Students at the Sussex Academy of Arts and Science got a special lesson, one you won't find in any old textbook. Instead of learning from behind their music stand, actual musicians from the string quartet Invoke came in to teach a class. As Coast TV's Nicole Richter showed us, it was how they took momentum and magic and turned it into music.
Music echoed through the halls at Sussex Academy of Arts and Science. As the string quartet Invoke, through coastal concerts, visited campus for a day of learning and live performance.
It's really inspiring and it's like a really unique experience.
Before taking the stage, musicians met with band students, answering questions about practice, performances, and turning a passion into a career. For Anna Leong, the day became even more memorable when she was invited to improvise with the group.
It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was like cool to collaborate. And I was like, oh, how can they just think of like these like notes and chords spot on? And I was really surprised.
For the professionals, they say the visit was about more than music. It was about sparking curiosity.
We love being that experience for other students, basically, and getting them inspired and interested in music that they might not be familiar with.
The visit wrapped up with a live concert, bringing students into the music and leaving them with inspiration that lasts far beyond the final note.
No matter where you are in your kind of creative career, experimenting and having fun and messing around is a key part.
And for these students, one day with professional musicians may just strike a chord that lasts a lifetime.
From questions in the classrooms to music on stage, a small performance with a big impact connecting students through music. In Georgetown, I'm Nicole Richter, Coast TV News.
Time is 5:20, and we are giving you a live look at Lewis, and the fog has been building all morning along the canal there. Chris, you got plenty on your plate. You got fog right now. You're also tracking rain later today.
Yeah, we're tracking some unsettled weather later on today. We have a marine layer that really pushed in here over the last hour across Ocean City, and just very misty out there this morning, especially at the coast. We're at 37 degrees, so we're seeing quite a temperature gradient as well, but you could see the fog, the most dense primarily along the Delaware coast, right through the bay in through Dover. Not too bad here from Salisbury on south and west. Now we do have that dense marine fog advisory. This runs through about 6 a.m. this morning, and you can see we're holding generally in the mid-30s. We're at 34 Bethany, but 40 in Salisbury, a little milder back off to the south and west. And then there's that northeast wind flow anywhere between about 10 to 20 miles an hour. So that marine layer has really rolled in pretty quickly here over the last hour. The radar shows not much. I mean, this mist is on the low levels of the atmosphere, so if you look at the radar, you're not going to see much, but this rain back off to the west, that will be pushing through our area after about 2 o'clock today, and then we have that front still off to the west, but the front right now is kind of stalled out over the region, pushing to the south. So misty, cool, raw start to our day. 40s across Delaware and the mid-shore, 40s and 50s eastern shore. That rain will develop heavy at times later on this afternoon, and then all eyes on that potential coastal system as we go into Sunday night. So we're going to start off with the clouds and fog. Temperatures only reaching the mid to upper 40s with that rain developing after about 2 o'clock. Temperatures getting into the mid to upper 40s across portions of Dorchester, Wycomico, Worcester County. So that is really the milder zone as we go into the day today. So there's the rain pushing through. Again, heavy at times as we go into around the dinner time hour, and you could see that northeast wind continue, just a rather nasty afternoon and evening, and then on and off showers will be with us really through the overnight and into tomorrow morning. So expect a wet commute tomorrow with periods of rain through about midday. I do think we rebound by the afternoon. Temperatures get back into the mid to upper 50s as the skies begin to clear. We're looking at a general 3/4 of an inch to a little over an inch of rain between this afternoon and by midday Friday. The winds are going to pick up Friday afternoon out of the southwest, and then we'll see those winds shift out of the northeast come Friday night. The pick of the weekend, Saturday, 53, because all eyes are on that coastal low. We have the American model and the Canadian model pushing that storm a bit more closer to the coast, while the Euro develops the storm a bit further out to sea. Now we have that rain developing Sunday afternoon, changing over to heavy wet snow by Sunday evening and into early Monday morning. We'll continue to fine-tune the forecast here over the next few days. We do turn much colder as we go into early next week, with temperatures holding in the upper 30s.
Thank you, Chris. 484 new homes are proposed in Harrington. City officials say the development is needed to meet housing demand, but Harrington firefighters warn it could strain resources.
It's going to increase our total call volume with fire and EMS. As we've already seen in the past year, we've jumped up over 50 calls already with the little impact we've had. So we're increasing, planning a significant increase in the total call volume.
All permits are approved. The city says the first construction permit could get issued in about a year.
And up next on CoastTV News today, oyster industry difficulties. How some watermen say that the weather is impacting oysters on the eastern shore. CoastTV News will be right back. Emergency relief could be on the way for watermen on Virginia's eastern shore. This is sent by Accomack County leaders to the Virginia Marine Resource Commission. According to the letter, the oystering industry is facing several difficulties, such as weeks of bitter cold temperatures and a poor market. Watermen in Accomack County say it's created a brutal scenario.
The lucky ones have gotten to go to work a couple days a week. You know, that's the lucky ones. There's boys that haven't even put their dredge rigs on this year at all. They've had no market from the first day till now.
And it's not just watermen facing these difficult times. According to a harbor master in Accomack County, about at least 50% of oysters grown through aquaculture were killed off by this year's severely cold temperatures.
Stepping out the door to some misty conditions in Ocean City. It's a cool, raw start to our day. Temperature around 36 degrees. We're seeing patchy fog further inland, and we are going to be dealing with rain after about noon to around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Temperatures holding in the mid to upper 40s thanks to that persistent northeast flow off the Atlantic. We do stay dry at least through about noon in Lewis and Rehoboth, but then that rain will develop on and off throughout the afternoon, and that rain could be heavy at times as we get into the dinner time hour through Cambridge and Crisfield, with temperatures holding there in the upper 40s. Could sneak in a 50-degree temperature there along the eastern shore. Lauren Paraco of Lewis, Delaware, congratulations on winning an umbrella from CoastTV. We are tracking rain developing later on today through the overnight, plus that weekend coastal storm threat. I'll have more on that in our next half hour.
Thank you, Chris. And after the break on CoastTV News today, Nikki Miller makes the decision why she says she will not run for Delaware's 20th District House seat in 2026.
Also, committee recommends school close. How the Brian Allen Stevenson School is responding.
Plus, parking meter price moves. How much costs could increase in several coastal communities. CoastTV News continues after the break.
Now on CoastTV News.
Campaign comeback canceled. After narrow defeats in 2 recent Delaware State House elections, why Republican Nikki Miller says she's sitting the cycle out.
Parking problems after claims of lost revenue. What Bethany Beach officials are looking to change to make up for the lost money.
Plus, charter crisis with the Brian Allen Stevenson School facing a forced closure. How officials there are responding.
It's another morning. We're tracking some patchy fog across the peninsula. Rain develops this afternoon through Friday morning on the latest rainfall totals, and all eyes on a potential coastal storm threat over the weekend.
This is CoastTV News Today.
February 19th, 2026. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Pensick. Good morning, Grace.
Good morning, Matt. I'm Grace Eckerly. Thank you for joining us today.
5:32 a.m. It's Friday Eve, Grace. We have fog, rain, but it is Friday Eve. That's the takeaway.
Well,
from
you
this.
know how I feel about Thursdays, the optimism for the weekend. And last weekend, you had a pretty packed schedule. It was Valentine's Day. There was a lot of stuff going on. What's happening in the Pensick Party House this weekend?
Well, I post all this on my blog now.
On your Yeah?
I think there's some dinner involved.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
maybe.
a nice weekend?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Chris is saying that you're going to have the pick of the week on Saturday.
That's when Chris talks like that gets me excited. Let's bring in first alert meteorologist Chris Masterbroner on the Weather Center. But Chris, in order to get to Saturday, gotta get to some muck that we're experiencing today.
Yeah, not the prettiest of days ahead, unfortunately. We're dealing with an east wind, so we have a lot of moisture coming in off the Atlantic, and we also are tracking some rain developing later on this afternoon. We're at 35 right now in Ocean City, and that marine layer has really pushed in here over the last hour. You can see we're down to about 3/4 of a mile visibility in Georgetown, nearly 38/10 of a mile there in Georgetown as that northeast wind continues. Temperatures are generally in the mid to upper 30s through much of Sussex County, 36 in Milford, a little milder to our south and west, where temperatures are in the low 40s. You can see the wind flow out of the northeast, so a lot of low-level moisture working in off the Atlantic. Now, we don't have any rain across the area, any steady rain. That is back off to the west across portions of West Virginia and Virginia. That is going to be pushing into our area later on this afternoon. So we have the fog, the low-level moisture, misty start to our day. We're only going to get into the mid to upper 40s across the peninsula this afternoon, with that rain on and off developing after about 2 o'clock, and that rain could be heavy at times through the dinner time hour. I'll have the latest on how much rain we could expect to see and all the rumblings about that coastal storm over the weekend. I'll have the latest on that here in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. More on the fog, and here is what we're seeing on some of our highways with this situation. This is on Coastal Highway between 5 Points and Lewis and the split heading into Rehoboth Beach, and you can see right now fog having some effect on driving conditions.
It's definitely quite the scene there, Matt, and we are tracking a number of cameras. We're now showing you Dewey Beach, someone making their morning commute through the dense fog today. This is where Coastal Highway bends into the downtown area, and for those drivers like that one you just saw on your screen, getting ready to head to those areas, this is what you may experience.
And our top story this half hour, today Bethany Beach looking at increasing rates for annual parking permit fees during the summer season. People with residential permits and beach lot permits, they have permission to park in metered spaces near the beach. At a meeting on January 15th, the Budget and Finance Committee mentioned an 8.2% decrease in the number of parking hours purchased. It was recommended that the town stop giving property owners a free beach permit and also raise the price of that permit. We spoke with frequent visitors to Bethany who say talks of raising prices is not a surprise.
Yeah, everything's getting more expensive everywhere. I don't know when prices had ever come down.
Those recommendations are expected to get reviewed later this morning by the town's Budget and Finance Committee.
And that parking discussion is happening while in Lewis, looking at increasing its fees as part of its fiscal year 2027 budget. We previously reported that there is a proposal of upping the hourly rate for in-town meters to $2.50 and beach parking to $3. The city says that if the fee changes go into effect this summer, it will generate an additional $250,000. Lewis leaders could take up the parking rate proposal at a special budget meeting this Friday.
New this morning, we had a response to the recommendation that the Brian Allen Stevenson School in Georgetown close. The school is named after civil rights lawyer Brian Stevenson, who grew up in Milton.
But now the Delaware Department of Education says the school isn't meeting state standards. The agency started a formal review just 2 months ago and is now recommending the school close.
The school released this statement in response, saying in part, quote, "We're prepared to demonstrate that the school has both the leadership and community support necessary to remain open and thrive."
The school currently has 119 6th through 9th graders and has been open for just 2 years. School leaders say that charter schools usually take about 3 to 5 years to get off the ground, and they're confident that they can turn this around. The school says it can stay open, and a public hearing on the possible charter revocation is March 9th. That's in Georgetown at Del Tech. 10 days later is when the Secretary of Education will decide to close the school or not. Happening today, a public workshop for the Airport Road Corridor study in Milford. The study is focusing on improving safety. That's between Canterbury Road and Route 113. Officials are now looking for community feedback to help shape possible improvements. And the workshop will take place from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at the Food Bank of Delaware Cafe in Milford. Now, it is important to note that this is the same area that's been closed for a number of months as construction of a new traffic circle continues.
Republican Nikki Miller says she will not run for Delaware's 20th District House seat in 2026. The former Cape Henlopen High School principal made the announcement Wednesday night, saying after a lot of reflection, she's choosing to focus on education and her work with students, teachers, and the community. Miller narrowly lost the 2024 general election to Stell Parker Selby and then lost last year's special election to Democrat Alana Berry. Miller says this isn't goodbye to public service, it is just a pause. New overnight, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg testified in a lawsuit that could affect hundreds of other cases by families who say their children have been harmed or even died because of social media.
Reed Binion now showing us the claims and how parents say their children were impacted in this landmark case.
Mark Zuckerberg walked in the front door of the Los Angeles Superior Courthouse Wednesday morning and walked out the back door that afternoon. In the intervening hours, the Meta CEO took the stand in a landmark trial. Zuckerberg testified before a jury for the first time ever about accusations that social media, including Instagram, is harmful to children's mental health. A 20-year-old woman identified only as Kaylee accuses Meta and YouTube of designing addictive features that hooked her as a small child, causing anxiety, depression, and body dysmorphia. Meta denies those allegations and says it's implemented numerous measures to safeguard young users. At the core of Zuckerberg's testimony were questions about what Meta knew about the potential risks to young people and whether it did enough to mitigate them. Before Wednesday's proceedings began, nearly a dozen parents who say their children were harmed gathered and joined hands outside the courthouse. After Zuckerberg's testimony, parents spoke to the press. Some expressed frustration.
I don't have any satisfaction. It's very similar to what happened in Congress 2 years ago when he swore under oath.
But there was also an acknowledgement of the importance of this moment in the landmark trial.
Today was the most important day for us to understand the truth of what happened and what was known.
I believe that there will be change.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Passengers were forced to evacuate a JetBlue flight at Newark Liberty International Airport after smoke was reported in the cockpit and the plane experienced engine trouble shortly after taking off. Officials say that the JetBlue flight departed Newark Liberty International Airport and was headed for West Palm Beach. The cause of the engine issue and cockpit smoke is still remaining under investigation by the FAA.
And we have a lot more news to get to. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up, Audible is unveiling a new feature, how the company says people can connect ebooks to the listening app.
And Delaware Bluecoats preview the 76ers G League affiliate. They got a big matchup tonight with a playoff berth in sight. Stay with us on Coast TV News today.
Good Thursday morning. Delmarva inching ever so closer to that weekend as we take a live look into Rehoboth Beach. Misty conditions at the coast this morning, all thanks to an east wind, 35 miles an hour in Rehoboth. We've been tracking some dense fog, especially across most of Sussex County, up through Kent County, even down through portions of Dorchester County, in through Cambridge. Temperatures 45 Princess Anne, 40 Cambridge, but we're in the mid to upper 30s across much of southern Delaware, 36 in Lewis and 37 in Ocean City. We do have high pressure just off to our north, but notice this backdoor cold front that's allowing for that push of onshore wind and that marine layer to push into the area. But we do have actual rain that's going to be developing later on this afternoon through the evening hours. So a raw day to say the least. We only are going to see highs in the mid to upper 40s with that rain continuing into Friday morning. You get your latest forecast by calling our Coast TV First Alert Weather phone. I'll have more on the rain tonight into Friday morning, as well as the coastal storm over the weekend here in a few minutes. Grace.
Thank you, Chris. In your consumer news, Audible is announcing the rollout of an immersion reading in its app. Customers who own both the audiobook and Kindle ebook versions of a title can now follow synchronized, highlighted text as the narration plays. The app will automatically show you which ebook have audiobook matches, and the company's data shows that users who do both consume nearly twice as much content each month.
IKEA is planning to open 10 new locations in the U.S. this year, though the Swedish furniture store has 500 locations. Fewer than 60 of them are in the U.S. This year, Alabama and Oklahoma will get their first IKEAs. They are in Huntsville and Tulsa. New stores will also open in Arizona, California, Colorado, Illinois, and Virginia.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Up in Wilmington, DSN finally returns to the Chase Fieldhouse, also known as the home of the Delaware Bluecoats. We haven't broadcasted a G League game since December, so let's get you back up to speed on Philly's theater program. The highlight of our early season coverage for the Delaware Bluecoats was the Jared McCain saga. He dealt with a lot of injuries in his second season with the 76ers, and they actually gave up on him completely. They traded him to the reigning NBA champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder. But don't worry, without McCain, who didn't really end up playing much for Delaware anyway, the team has been good. In the month of February, they've won 3 of 4, took down the Valley Suns in Arizona, squeaked by the Wisconsin Herd at home. They'd also lose to them the second go around. Last time out, they did get smoked by the Long Island Nets by 16. Over the next couple of days, they host the Maine Celtics, obviously the affiliate of Boston's team. So game one, you can catch that one tonight at 7 o'clock on DSN. And then on Saturday, a little weekend special for you as they will rematch with the Celtics at 6. Top player to watch out on for the Celtics, Ron Harper. If the name sounds familiar, his father played in the NBA back in the day with the Bulls. And unlike his father, he has got a full head of hair and a good basketball game. Have a good one, Delmarva.
And coming up tonight on DSN, as you just saw at 7, we have live NBA G League action when the Delaware Bluecoats take on the Celtics. Then you can catch the final score at 10:30. On DSN Plus at noon, we have Maryland Eastern Shore taking on Roberts Wesleyan in men's volleyball. And at 5:30 p.m., Bennett hosts Y-High in boys basketball.
And if you're having a rough week, cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from CoastTV with personal features, fun things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up now for free at coasttv.com/sign up to get your weekly dose of joy directly to your inbox on Friday.
Well, I unfortunately have not really good news to give you today. A very cold, raw start to our day, misty. We are tracking rain later on this afternoon through tomorrow morning, and potentially even a more significant storm system over the weekend. I'll have the latest when Coast TV News Today continues.
The time's now 5:49 a.m. as we're taking a live look out into Ocean City. And Chris, usually when we take a look at this camera, it's clear, we get a nice view. Not this morning. The fog is no surprise.
Yeah, unfortunately, don't really have much in the way of good news to report this morning. Going forward today, it's going to be just kind of one of those raw days, and we're tracking some steadier rain developing later on this afternoon. So there's the low clouds, the marine layer that built in here over the last hour across most of the coast. We're at 34 degrees now in Rehoboth with that east wind at about 5 miles an hour. You can see the most dense fog we have seen is extending across Kent County through northern portions of Sussex County. Not much in the way of fog across Salisbury to the south, and we're dealing with some dense fog in and across Cambridge and Ocean City as well. Now, the dense fog advisory off the Delaware coast was just canceled, but we do have the fog advisory from Fenwick Island and Ocean City, Assateague down through Chickateague. This runs through 1 o'clock this afternoon. That's for primarily the coastal waters. 37 right now in Georgetown. We're holding a 34 Ocean City, but 40 in Salisbury. You can see that northeast push of wind anywhere between about 10 to 15 miles an hour. So we have the fog, the mist this morning. We have high pressure just off to our northeast, so that's creating that onshore flow as that backdoor cold front pushes to the south. That shower activity you see across the portions of Virginia and Western Virginia, that's going to be pushing into our area later on this afternoon. So we have that rain developing after about 1 o'clock. And that rain will be with us through the evening. 45 for a high in Salisbury to 44 in Bethany Beach. So there's that rain later on this afternoon. Could be heavy at times through the evening hours. And then it's just going to be rather spotty in nature through the evening, through the overnight, into our Friday morning. And it will be rather damp, and expect some rain for our morning commute Friday. But I do think we are going to rebound, salvage the day, if you will, by the afternoon as we get back into the mid to upper 50s as we go into the afternoon. Rainfall on the order of 3/4 of an inch to a little over an inch in some localized spots as we go through midday Friday. The winds are going to be out of the southwest at least through the start of the day on Friday, but then we're going to see that shift in wind gusting to near 35-40 as we go into the evening. The pick of the weekend, Saturday, 53 degrees because all eyes are on that potential coastal storm. The American model, the Canadian, coming in much stronger and much closer to the coast with a high impactful storm. The Euro model has the storm developing a little further off to our east. So we have to fine tune this track, and it's all going to be about track and intensity to see how much snow we actually do get, because we're going to have marginal temperatures. We really need that storm to deepen to pull down that colder air to change that rain over to heavy wet snow to get it to stick. The good news is if you like snow, it's going to be coming in overnight, so we don't have the sun angle to worry about. We'll continue to fine tune the forecast here over the next day or two. 38 for a high on Monday, and then we rebound back into the mid to upper 40s by Wednesday. Matt.
Thank you, Chris. And you are now looking live at downtown Cortina, Italy. It is below the freezing mark there. They actually have some snow as they approach the noon hour, and we only have a couple of days remaining at the 25th Olympic Winter Games. So with that, let's now take a look at the medal count. U.S. has 7 gold medals, 11 silver, and 6 bronze, and that brings their total to 24. Norway still leads with 15 gold, 8 silver, 10 bronze. That is 33 overall, and Italy has 9 gold, 5 silver, 10 bronze, for an overall total of 26.
It is day 16 of the competition for the Olympic Winter Games, and our coverage will continue all the way to the closing ceremonies on February 22nd, right here on Coast TV.
And we have that programming note for you. Due to the Winter Olympics through the 20th, you can catch Jeopardy on our sister station, Fox 21, at its regular time. That is 7:30 p.m. It's the same show, same time. It's just on a different channel while the games are on.
The time's now 5:53 a.m. Matt Pensick, it is time to check in with our coastal pet of the day.
My son Connor is going to love this picture. Today's coastal pet of the day is a very photogenic cat. On your screen right now is Moo Moo, the model. The high fashion cat never takes a bad photograph, and Moo Moo was submitted to us by his family in Lewis.
Matt, I do have to confess, I recognize this cat. My beautiful spray tan artist, Meredith, is the mother of Moo Moo the Sphinx. And what a handsome cat that is.
6 degrees of cat separation.
There you go. We want to see more of your photos on Delmarva. You can send us photos. Tell us what makes your pet so special. If you take a look at your screen now.
Yeah, that's where that QR code is. Top center. Scan that to get your friends to Coast TV News, and then watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m. to see all the pets we feature. And we're bringing back First Alert meteorologist Chris Mastrobono. Chris, our attempts to have consistent 50-degree conditions, it's about to end.
Yeah, I mean, I delivered yesterday, 58, 60 in Salisbury yesterday, even with the cloud cover. But yeah, nasty day today. We have fog, we have mist this morning, courtesy of a nice northeast wind, keeping things nice and raw this morning. Now, we do have rain that's going to be developing through the area this afternoon through the evening, and that's going to be with us through tomorrow morning. I do think we salvage tomorrow afternoon, getting back up into the mid to upper 50s, and then all eyes are on that coastal storm that could bring rain going over to heavy wet snow as we go into Sunday through Monday morning.
All right, thank you, Chris. And coming up in our next hour, beach parking bucks. Why Bethany officials say they lost money last year and some of the ways they hope to increase revenue this summer. That and more when we continue with Coast TV News Today.